That's now 2 games in a row for your big 3. The big 4. Live from the Xfinity Mobile Studio, it's the PHLY Sixers post-game show. Kyle, Derek, Vaughn, Bree, represented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, all of you in the chat, Happy New Year to all of you. And the Sixers kick off the new year of 2026 with a big win over the Dallas Mavericks, 123-108. And are they starting to figure something out? The chemistry that they talk about, the cohesion and the continuity, all the words that they want to use of simply playing basketball together and it looking pretty good. And I'd say, Kyle, starting with you, first of all, we'll get to our player of the game as we go along. We'll get to our unsung hero, and we have a temperature check as well, because this was a complete team win from pretty much front to back on this one, sustaining runs, answering runs by the Dallas Mavericks, and some big shot making, some big defensive possessions. A lot of stuff to talk about here tonight with all of you in the chat. We'll see your super chats. We'll get to those as well. But Kyle, this one, 2 in a row for the big 3, plus VJ Edgecombe. And 2 in a row.
There's no plus. He is part of whatever core group you want to talk about.
I know.
That kid is in there, baby.
He's in there. Plus 2 in a row where they got off to the bad start on this road trip, of this 5-game road trip. They won 2 in a row, 2 really good wins here on the road against Memphis and Dallas. And the foursome of Edgecombe, Maxey, George, and Embiid, they all had their moments in this game where it mattered in this complete victory. We'll get to Quentin Grimes and what he has done, what he did tonight in his return to Dallas, and so much more. But Kyle, the story is, as we talked about the big 3, now the foursome that is VJ Edgecombe, they look really, really good, and they're starting to figure some things out.
Yeah, when you say we'll talk about the player of the game at some point, at different points of that game, I'm thinking of different people, right? Like, I think it ends up being, and I don't want to spoil anything, I think it ends up being Tyrese Maxey, right? Who gets 34, 8, and 10, and just had long periods of this game where Dallas could do nothing with him. But there's also a portion of that first half where you're playing through Joel Embiid, and it's either they double him and the Sixers get a wide open 3, or they single cover him and he is beating Anthony Davis like a drum. And then you go to VJ Edgecombe and you say, man, he looks incredible. Like the stuff that he's doing is stuff that we thought maybe that's a year or 2 away. Yeah. He's 3 of 6 from 3. He's got 4 steals. He gets us a double block on one possession where he blocks it with 2 different hands in one sequence. And even like, look, Paul George has a more subdued game. He turned the ball over too much, but he has a first half where he threw one down. He cocked it back and throws down the ball. And so here's where I want to start. I think a lot of what is happening right now, the fluidity that they've finally found, other than just like reps, time, the things we've been talking about that you can't expedite it. It's just a thing that has to happen naturally. One of the big things for me is because Joel Embiid seems to have his legs under him, because he's moving fluidly, because it's not so much like he's in his own head, he's not fighting his body, he's just out there playing basketball. I think that has allowed him to be a part of a team in a more profound way than he's been able to for most of the last 2 years, where that 2-man game is effortless with Tyrese Maxey. They're pinging the ball back and forth, whether it's out of the post, dribble handoffs. You're seeing more of those through the legs handoffs with Maxey, where he didn't make the 3 on the through the legs pass tonight, but that's a couple games in a row now. We're seeing them go to that. And he's finding him early. He's finding him often. We're seeing Joel and PG get into some 2-man stuff. And like, hey, Paul's got a mismatch. Find him in the post. It didn't go super well, but it's at least like, hey, Joel's just playing quarterback. Joel's hitting a skip pass to the corner, going downhill off the dribble. And so when he plays like that, when he just plays freely, we know he's got the individual talent that he can score and beat one-on-one matchups and put up numbers and whatnot. But when he just becomes a piece of the machine rather than the machine itself, they play the brand of basketball they played tonight, which is Everybody gets to eat. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different guys in double figures. All of those guys got to have stretches of the game where they were able to take over and dominate. Tyrese has just so happened to be much longer and much more explosive than everyone else's. But I think a lot of this just comes back to Joel looks and feels good. And rather than being someone who they have to force feed him and he has to just focus on himself, it's becoming a more holistic 5-man group. And this is the most encouraged I've felt about this team in probably 2 years, since he was on a potential back-to-back MVP campaign. At minimum, going back to the Knicks series where he's dropping 50 and Maxey is hitting big game winners at the Garden. I feel great about what I saw out there tonight, and I'm super encouraged that, health permitting, of course, they're going to be able to sustain some of this.
Yeah. No, look, I mentioned this in the Discord as the game was going on. It was, look, I don't think any of us are going to sit up here and tell you, like, you can now rely on Joel Embiid. We just need a much longer runway, a much longer sample size before we get to that point. And even then, he just has so many injuries and has had so many surgeries that it is going to be hard to ever make that statement. But 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, you didn't know if Joel Embiid could be an impact player with his current physical limitations. I wasn't ready to write that off because he had to play more. He had to get back into rhythm. He had to, maybe develop more confidence in the knee. Hopefully he could develop some of the surrounding muscles and ligaments around there to compensate. You were hopeful that was possible, but you didn't know. You're now seeing he can play high-level NBA basketball still, even with his current physical limitations. Again, we have no idea whether he can sustain that. We have no idea whether he can stay on the floor with any kind of consistency. He's played 8 of the last 12 games. That's great, but we have to see it over a much longer stretch. But he is playing very consistent basketball right now. I think he came in averaging like 26 points per game over his last 7 games. Obviously had another big one tonight. And what Kyle mentioned is true. He's playing it in a team construct. And it is, I know everyone has this perception of how he plays basketball. He's never had this many options to choose from. He's never had these many running mates, these many players who could contribute in various different ways. Even like, we'll get to it, someone like Quentin Grimes, like you just have way more options, way more shooters, way more guys who can create. I'm really interested if you give these 4 a long, a lot of opportunities to build chemistry and cohesion and to figure each other out. I'm curious to see how Joel Embiid adapts. I'm glad that he is getting back on the court so we have a chance to see this. Again, I have no idea how long he's going to stay on the court. We can't answer that. But I do think, even in his diminished state, even if he's not ever going to be 100% of what he previously was, he's such a skilled basketball player. He's such a smart basketball player. There are more pieces around him. I just want to see whether or not they can figure this out. And we're certainly starting to see over these last couple of games, really this last week or two, they're starting to figure things out in a pretty big way. A lot of people made a huge deal about them being 0-4 in their first 4 starts together, even though they had a positive net rating and a positive point differential during those 4 games. Well, now over the last 2 games, you've seen them not only win games, you've seen them not only win the minutes that they are on the floor, but you're seeing them really learn how to play off of each other and play some pretty good brand of basketball. It's not just that like they're making shots. In fact, tonight they didn't even shoot all that well from the perimeter. It's not something unsustainable. The process resulting in these shots has been very, very good, and it has to be encouraged. And look, this is a Mavs team who I know they've been struggling defensively over the last couple of, last week or so. For the most part, they've been a pretty good defensive team this year. And the Sixers got pretty much anything they wanted, half court or in transition.
So first, everybody, so many people in here. Again, people just coming in. We appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button on your way in as you settle in. Start chatting there with everybody else. Hit that like button for us as we hang out on this January 1st, this new year. Happy New Year, everybody. It was really encouraging. That's the thing that really got me with everybody. After seeing this for 2 games in a row, and while they had to go to overtime against Memphis, they got a great performance from Ja Morant with his 40 that kept them in that game, and some other shots from other people on that team to help them stay in that one. But for this one, with the encouraging part was it starts, of course, with the 3 guys that were 0-4, 1-4 coming into this game. But then to see VJ Edgecombe, as we've talked about, from where he was with the great start to hitting the wall, getting injured, coming back, having 2 or 3 good games when he immediately comes back, having a tough stretch again, where more recently he just had 10 points back to back, and we were wondering what's going on, like a 3-18 performance that he had in one of their losses. And seeing them come together where it's all encouraging, that to what you guys both said about it, really starting with obviously Tyrese Maxey, but still Joel Embiid, because he's not just out there to be a decoy. He can't be. He's Joel Embiid still on the offensive end, where the ball is going to funnel to him and he can still give you 20. We know that. So his confidence in having to feel comfortable, he's going to give the ball to Tyrese Maxey because he trusts him. Does he trust Paul George? Not enough of a sample size from a year ago that he trusts him enough on the floor together. VJ Edgecombe is a rookie sitting on the sideline watching what he has done, but does he trust him on the floor as much as he trusts Tyrese Maxey to not over dribble, not have the silly turnovers? Joel Embiid only had 2 turnovers tonight, and one of them was the silly Joel Embiid turnover that we see him trying to do a little bit too much in the moment. The same for Paul George, as Kyle mentioned. They have those turnovers, but for the most part, the trust was there. Joel Embiid got the hang dribbles, took his jump shot, didn't do too much. This stuff in the paint that Derek talked about in the pregame, if it was there, he took it. The passing was there from everybody. And the one that they always did, it was one point in that fourth quarter. It was the end of the third or in the fourth quarter. I can't remember exactly. I didn't write it down. It's my mistake. Tyrese Maxey had a couple of line drives to the basket for some layups that he finished, but you can clearly tell he was fatigued. So what did they do? They gave the ball to the other guys, let him timeout Nick Nurse, but then there were other guys that did other things that allowed him to just simply kind of be out there, draw some of that attention from the defense, and not have to use all of that energy on every possession to get them a much-needed basket. That's where Joel Embiid comes in, Paul George with his stretch that Kyle talked about earlier, and certainly VJ Edgecombe we'll talk about more extensively. But the encouraging part is just the trust that seems to be out there for all 4 of them together, starting with the first 2, because we've seen it, like Kyle talked about. Their chemistry is their chemistry. They can do that with no problem. It's incorporating the other 2, as Derek says, and Quentin Grimes, who we'll get to in a little bit, incorporating all of them in the understanding of what their roles are, but also believing in them with the cohesion that they can go out there and also get buckets on the floor too. It doesn't just have to be those 2. So that's what was encouraging, is obviously the health with Joel Embiid. And I know we'll talk about him throughout the entirety of the show, but just the encouraging part of how good it looked from front to back with the offense, where the shot wasn't falling. As Derek said, it wasn't like they shot the lights out. They shot the lights out in the second quarter, where they shot like 65% in the quarter. But for the most part, they played good defense. They made timely passes. They got to the free throw line. They were 11 for 12 in that second quarter, getting to the free throw line. And they look really, really good as a team. And while this is only the second time that we have seen this consecutively from them, where it looked as good as it did, this is something for them to build off of, feel good about. Like we said in the pregame, Kyle and Derek, they can just go off of Joel. Oh, Joel's playing in his second game back-to-back here, not in back-to-back nights, but his second game. It's because he had a really good game, and maybe after those 38 minutes, he feels pretty good about what he did. Sees what he can do out there. Keep it rolling,
baby.
Keep it going. Rolling. He had a nice block where he had to actually leave his feet and contest that block, and he got it. And we, like we always do, what's going to happen? Is he going to buckle, and is he going to grab at that knee? No, he was pretty good. He responded to all of that really well. And that, again, I'm just running this word into the ground for me. Really encouraging of what we saw from this entire team tonight, especially with the 4 of those guys and Quentin Grimes.
And let me make sure, we've talked a lot about Joel, and rightfully so, but let me make sure we don't get too deep and out of A block without saying Tyrese Maxey is a goddamn stud. Dude. Like, he is just so
Bree,
good.
throw that up there if you got it. You got it.
So
player of the game.
Tyrese Maxey. And I cannot say enough about how he played tonight, how he has played all season. Once again, he played 42 and a half minutes tonight. He got about 5.5 minutes of rest for the entire game.
Looked tired on that one stretch right there, Kyle. I was talking about.
He did have a moment of fatigue, but here's what I will say about Tyrese. It's not just that he's going out and scoring 34 and rebounding the ball and getting double-digit assists. It's that he is also the best defensive playmaker he has been in his career. His play-to-play effort and awareness and activity are as good as they have been. I remember when he got to Kentucky and even like coming out of Kentucky to some extent. I know that people weren't expecting a guy of his size to be a high-level defender, but he had a defensive reputation. He arrived to Coach Cal as like this kid can score and he's going to get after you on defense. And it took us a while for us to see the version of Maxey that really took the challenge on defense. I think we saw it come forward a bit last year. He was still like, he has his ups and downs, and last year was not the best season that Tyrese has had. We've all been through that. But now it's just this well-realized version of Tyrese on both ends of the floor, where even when he's fatigued, even if his shot goes missing for a bit, he's not down on the other end hanging his head or taking a lot of plays off. He's trying to get involved every single way that he can. He's making chase down blocks. He had a couple deflections tonight that ultimately don't turn into steals, but are breaking up Dallas Mavericks possessions. And then, of course, on offense, right? The side effect of Joel being more like Joel and drawing doubles in the post is that you can get wide open practice type shots for this kid who frankly doesn't need them, right? Tyrese Maxey doesn't need practice shots to get rolling. But if you get him these open catch and shoot threes and you inspire the fear that he can put in defenses early in games, what happens is exactly what you saw. He is going by you on these handoffs as if nobody is guarding him, and he's making layup after layup after layup after layup. That was a super impressive performance from him. Perfect amount of aggression versus finding the open shooters, looking for Joel, setting up other players. He was unbelievable tonight. And once again, just have to keep saying it. This has been an outstanding season for him, and it only seems to be getting better as they get more firepower and people around him.
Lil Mike there in the chat says, I genuinely don't know what Maxey's ceiling is. He just keeps getting better. Just keeps getting better. All right, Derek, I know you want to talk about Maxey. We'll do that on the other side. Let's take our first pause to the show. Sixers win 123-108 now on the season, 18-14, 2 wins in a row, one more on this 5-game trip. They play New York on Saturday. Of course, we'll have the pregame for you, and we'll see how that one goes. But for tonight, the foursome, Maxey, Embiid, George, and Edgecombe really got it done in this victory, 123-108. Unsung hero on the other side. We'll let you guess who that might be in the chat while we take our first pause. It's the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Let me tell you about a local business that's been helping Philly homeowners and businesses stay pest-free. That's Evans Pest Control. This isn't some giant national chain. They are a family-owned, community-focused pest control company right here in the Philly area, and they've been earning the trust of our neighbors for years. And with the holidays around, I've said this to you before when talking about Evans Pest Control, they have your back because there will be a lot of crumbs, a lot of families, the little ones, the adults that don't clean up behind themselves. It's all there for you that you have to clean up, and you might miss a crumb here or there, and you don't want any uninvited guests. So with that, they know how to show up whenever, not the unwanted pests. I'm talking about the family and doing their part. So make sure that you get in with Evans Pest Control. So if you see signs of pets or just want to prevent them before they start, reach out to Evans Pest Control. Visit evanspestmgmt.com to schedule your free consultation. That's Evans Pest Control at evanspestmgmt.com.
Philly sports fans, I need you to listen up. It's the season of gifting, or maybe it's right after the season of gifting. If you're looking for something truly unforgettable this year, I've got the perfect idea for you. Got to check out the incredible work from Philadelphia sports artist Jordan Spector at SpectorSportsArt.com. I personally own one of Jordan's pieces myself. Trust me, these aren't just posters that you hang on the wall. It's museum-level quality artwork of the greatest moments and the icons in Philly sports history. Here's the great thing, though. They come in prints, they come in canvases, even athlete-partnered trading cards, whatever you're looking for. Jordan's got you. Get this, one of the newest cards actually includes a piece of Brandon Graham's real game-worn jersey from that matchup in New Orleans. Remember, the one against the Chiefs? doesn't get more authentic than that. If you've got a diehard sports fan in your life, maybe you just want to treat yourself. This is the kind of gift they'll talk about forever or that you'll love forever. So head over to SpectreSportsArt.com. That's SpectreSportsArt.com. Grab something epic for the fan in your life.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. 123-108, the final score. Sixers win over the Mavericks, and that was a complete victory. Saw a lot of people nominating one guy that we're about to talk about. Before we get to the unsung hero, hit the like button, everybody. You can like and subscribe. Please leave a comment as well. Let us know. Converse with us in the comment section as well on YouTube. We really appreciate that. Before we get to the unsung hero, Derek, Tyrese Maxey, you wanted to talk about him, then we'll get to the other guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I have that much to add because I think Kyle pretty much summed it up. It was why when they had those struggles, a little while back against the Nets and the Bulls, and it just so happened to coincide with all of the big three coming together, it was like, all right, just calm down. Like, Maxey's allowed to have 2 down games. When your top guy has a down game, things are going to look worse than they truly are. And Maxey has been so consistent all year that, he's the last 2 games, he's hit the ground running, and all of a sudden everything ties together. He really has become sort of like the bellwether for this team for years and years and years and years. That was Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid set the floor. Everybody else tried to raise it, a lot of times very unsuccessfully in the process. But now it's Tyrese. And if Tyrese is going well, then you are going to have a chance to win pretty much any night. And he was getting wherever the heck he wanted off the dribble today. His three ball was going in. It was a truly one of the easier 34s, near triple-double 34s you've seen in quite a while. His floor game was excellent. His defense has improved so much. I remember his first couple years in the league. Now, look, this was maybe exacerbated a little bit because he was playing alongside of James Harden. But it seemed like there was a defensive miscommunication almost every time down the floor, and it almost always involved Tyrese Maxey. His awareness was just not where it needed to be. And yeah, he came in the league with some deficiencies because he's a shorter guard, but he was nowhere near close to maximizing it either. And the work he has put in over the last couple of years to not only get stronger, and he's clearly put on some muscle mass, to not only be more bought in, but just to be more aware and to be better prepared and to know the game plan. And he's just become a much more reliable defender, where earlier in his career, he was not only exploitable, he was also unreliable. And, those are kind of like the side of the ball where, look, Maxey could be a Trae Young level defender. And with the numbers he's putting up, he would still be making an all-star team. You don't need to put in that work on the defensive side of the ball to get accolades, to get all-star teams, to get even all NBA teams. You do need to put in work on that side of the ball to win, though. And it shows a lot of what Tyrese Maxey is about, that he has gotten so much better on that end. And I forget what chatter said it, but you really don't know what his ceiling is anymore. You really don't.
All right. Tyrese Maxey is fantastic. We talk about him a lot, player of the game. We said going into the break, you guys guess who the unsung hero might be tonight. The Togo unsung hero of the night, the Dominic Barlow Award, and the unsung hero presented by Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing, and as always, a great partner. So X-Man, music lover, Larry, Jay, everybody said it's got to be Quentin Grimes. Well, you think like us, everybody, because it was Quentin Grimes with his 19 points off the bench, 5 for 7 from 3, 7 for 9 from the floor overall, 7 boards, 2 assists, some big shots in the closing lineup. Once again, he had 3 block shots. He had a steal as well. Quentin Grimes, Derek, was fantastic in his role tonight, in his return to Dallas.
Yeah, and look, this was a game where, obviously his offensive contribution, 19 points off the bench, was huge. He was making his shots great. I really thought the first half, he helped set that tone defensively, especially in that second quarter, in a big way. Almost no matter the matchup. Cooper Flagg, he was playing some great defense against him there. And he is so important to this team, not only as a spot-up threat, not only as an occasional and I'm going to highlight occasional initiator when your lineups call for it, but just his defense and his versatility on that end. It really is like when you have a two-way player like that, and when Quentin is playing well, he's a two-way player. It just makes everything so much easier, especially when you have, the core four that you do. He slots in there when he's playing well pretty seamlessly. And I thought this was a game where, for the most part, he didn't annoy me with his decision making on offense. He took the threes that were open. When he started feeling it, he maybe forced one or two shots, but those shots were going in as well. And that's all great. But to me, it was the defense that really set the stage for this game. And with the exception of, I forget which game exactly it was that Kyle, the first game that Kyle came back for, was that the Bulls game maybe? Where it looked like the offense was, his offensive struggles were seeping into the defense. For the most part this year, I don't think that's been the case. And I give him a lot of credit for that. And when he puts everything together, he's just a very, very valuable part of this team.
Are we allowed to give the coach any credit on this show, or is that illegal in Philadelphia? Because
it's allowed.
I will say this. I do think part of what you're talking about, Derek, where it's, I think on offense where he didn't really do a whole lot of playmaking, whole point of attack, ball handling. And some of that is because with Joel Embiid back, they have changed the structure of the rotation so that when it is the Maxey-less lineup, it's been VJ, McCain, Grimes, and then it's also probably PG and Joel, or it's at least PG. And so Grimes early in the season, it's him and VJ and nobody else that you want to have the ball in their hands. And so because of that, Quentin ends up playing a lot of point of attack and doing a lot of the crazy passing and scatterbrained offense that we don't like. And I think in this new setup, he's perfectly placed exactly where he needs to be, which is you're going to play off of the other guys. You're going to take catch and shoot threes. And then on the other end, all we need from you is exactly what Derek was talking about. He set the tone defensively tonight. He came into the game very early because Barlow was in foul trouble. Terrible game for Barlow tonight. Never really found his flow in that game. So Quentin gets called into action early. And right from the jump, he's playing aggressive, physical defense. He steps over the line a couple times. I thought he got called for a bad. He got ball on a reach in. I believe it was Cooper Flagg who was driving on a sequence where the officials missed like back-to-back calls. I thought was a little handsy, but other than that, like I will live with that if you are getting the communication, if you're getting the play-to-play effort and playmaking that Grimes had tonight. I said, I think on Twitter or maybe in our Discord, that that's the best game I thought Quentin has played in a month. I think it says a lot about the team that he's probably, fourth or fifth in the pecking order in terms of who we're talking about. And that's why he ends up being the unsung hero rather than somebody who's contending for player of the game. But it shows if he can be put into a role that highlights his strengths and minimizes his weaknesses, he can return significant value. Like he is a huge part of why they won that game. And that's the Quentin Grimes I want every night, like that version of him. He's going to miss shots and his offense is not always going to be there. But if he comes in with the attitude on defense that he started with tonight, everything else is going to flow out of that. He will get his shot opportunities. He'll be able to score and get open threes off of Maxey, VJ, Joel, PG, whoever's in the game. But the defense is what starts everything. Was absolutely thrilled with the way he played tonight.
Yeah, I forget, just real quick, I remember looking this up a little while ago. It was probably about a month ago when the Maxey, VJ, Grimes backcourt was having a lot of success in terms of plus minus. And I remember looking at Quentin's usage. And he basically went from in minutes without Maxey, having like a 25 or a 26% usage down to like a 17 or 18% usage when playing alongside of VJ and Maxey. But his efficiency skyrocketed. And that really highlights if he's in the right role, is he willing and able to scale down and become a high energy, highly efficient role player? And that is going to be one of the key questions for the season, because you're going to have to make a decision on Quentin at the end of the year. And it's one thing to be like, okay, well, when he scales up, it brings out some of the worst habits or at least some of the deficiencies in his game. But is he willing and capable of playing that right role? And I do think over the last couple of games, we've gotten some pretty good indications that, yeah, when he's out there alongside other real offensive talent, he has a role to play.
Really good game, man. The two-way game that he had, the shooting, of course, that deep shot that he made when Dallas cut the lead. The Sixers were up about, 11, 12 points, and they came back, and Quentin Grimes made a deep three-pointer, no hesitation either, and he nailed it. And that's just the kind of night that he was feeling. And the defensive part, guys, I thought when we talked about it against the Memphis Grizzlies, he was in the closing lineup in the fourth, played again in the overtime session. We talked about why the points weren't there. Defensively, he was really good. And I thought that carried over from the Memphis game on Tuesday night into this performance. And look, he might have even had a little bit of extra pep in his step because of the fact that Dallas was the one who traded him to Philadelphia. And sometimes that does something to players. But whatever it was, it worked because it carried over defensively from the effort that he put in against Memphis. And then he played that well tonight, plus the offense. Quentin Grimes, our unsung hero tonight, presented by Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing. Let Togo handle the work that gets in the way of your work. You call the plays, we execute at Togo. All right, when we come back, please hit the like button before we take our second pause here. Hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, pass the word on to everybody else to do so. There are a ton of you in here. We appreciate you hanging out with us. You don't have work tomorrow. You took the rest of the weekend off. Hit the like button. Continue to hang with us. Text a friend, call a family member, whatever it is. Tell them to tune in after this huge win by the Sixers, 123-108. When we come back, we got a temperature check, everybody. And it's not just about the points when we come back and talk about this particular player. It's about the other things that he's doing, most notably the minutes with this player. When we come back, the Ace Hardware temperature check right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365.
And guys, we want to tell you about Factor Meals because it is the new year and you have big goals and no time to cook. Factor makes it easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs so you can eat well without shopping or cooking. Factor includes quality, functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats, with no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined oil seeds. Meals that fit your goals and schedule, healthy eating, calorie management, and more protein. With Factor, you always get always fresh food, never frozen, ready in about 2 minutes, no prep, and no stress. Head on over to factormeals.com/PHLY50off and use code PHLY50off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor.
We all know the feeling, guys. You walk into a jewelry store to pick something out for that special someone in your life. Suddenly you're in over your head. You're thinking, what's the difference between all these diamonds? What if they don't like it? You need people to help you sort through all that and take the stress out of the equation. That's why working with Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design is such a game changer. They make the whole process seamless. There is no pushy sales vibe from the minute you walk in. They just treat you like family, and they actually listen. They help you figure out exactly what you'll love and that special someone in your life will love. And then their team designs something completely custom right there in-house. It's awesome. It's just good people who love what they do. The end result is a gift that you are proud to give and that person in your life will never forget. So the next time you need that perfect piece, go to Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design. 30 plus years in the game, Philly's #1 jeweler year after year. 1,000 5-star reviews speak for themselves. BucciJewelers.com. Tell them the guys at PHLY sent you.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Derek, Kyle, Devon, Bree, all of you. We appreciate you as always. Hit the like button, like and subscribe to the show. Let's get to the Ace Hardware temperature check on this Thursday night, the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. And the Ace Hardware temperature check presented by Ace Hardware, where a team or a player is heating up or cooling off. In this case, I know we talked about him a little bit earlier, and he was fantastic in the game win over Memphis as well. By the way, visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Kyle, let's start with you on this one. It's not the Joel Embiid points. 34 in the last game. He also had tonight 9 of 18, 22 points. And just looking at his numbers for the month of December, he was 25.9 points in the 7 games that he played. He also 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.3 blocks, and all the stuff that he does offensively. But he averaged 31 minutes in the month. And I'm bringing this to you, everybody. I'm bringing this to Kyle because Kyle brought it up earlier about his health. So he averaged 31 minutes in the month of December, 35 tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. And in order for him to play these amount of minutes, he has to feel healthy. And I bring that up to your point is because we're not talking about a minute restriction anymore. And we can maybe get to Paul George a little bit later because he also played tonight 33 minutes.
We better get to VJ Edgecombe at some point.
I know.
We're 30 plus minutes in, and that boy needs a lot of time. He might need the rest of the show after this.
For sure. But the temperature check with him, no minute restriction. He's out there. He's playing. You talked about it. And that's the fact that the health is allowing him to do what he's doing.
Yeah. And so I think people who are pro Joel get very defensive when anybody who, even if it's well-intended, if anybody has criticism or speculation regarding him and how he impacts the team. And I want to go back to something that Dwayne Wade talked about on the Prime broadcast during the Chicago game. He went at length and basically said, like, look, I've been in situations where, and I think he was referring to Shaq. I assume he's referring to Shaq. He basically said, like, I've been in situations where you have this really important player, a big man, who's really good and like deserves the attention, the touches, et cetera, but when they're not consistently in the lineup and you're constantly struggling to figure out, like, okay, how do we play? Like, what does this look like both with and without that player? It gets difficult to establish real rhythm, right? And so as we're seeing Joel just get on the floor consistently, as they've gone from, hey, he can only play with at least 2 days rest to now he can play every other day. And now the minute restriction is either it doesn't exist or at least it's not as restrictive. And he's able to play these long stretches where the rotation solidifies, the sub patterns are more consistent. The guys that he's playing with are more consistent game to game. Maxey knows when his opportunities to really dominate time and touches are coming. It just becomes easier to fall into habits, fall into pep plays. We're doing this at the end of first quarters, beginning of second quarters. All these different pieces start to come together. And so, like, he's been putting up numbers and he's been playing pretty well individually for a little while now. Like, this is at least a few weeks of pretty solid basketball at minimum from Joel. To me, the most important thing is that he's just on the floor, and that's been good for him. But it also has this downstream effect on every guy on the roster. And so I know that I can't sit here and none of us can like will Joel to be healthy. We can't, as far as I know, we can't like do anything to actually impact how his knee feels every day when he wakes up or after a game or in the middle of a game, what's going to happen. But what we're seeing is that the more he's on the floor and the more these guys grow in understanding, the more dangerous that this team can be, because he is still, even in this state, which is not at 100% MVP Joel Embiid, a significant piece of this team and a really dangerous basketball player.
We are not that far removed from when he wouldn't have even been allowed to play this game. Like, it would have just been an automatic Joel's not playing. He didn't have 2 days off, so he's not playing basketball. And for him to come out there with that kind of energy, that kind of effort, that kind of defense, forget the productivity, just shows he is so much more confident and comfortable in himself and also shows that, yes, there's a lot more, there's a lot more chemistry and cohesion out of this group. Like, I think sometimes we ignore the obvious, and like anything you do in life, absolutely anything you do is tougher when you haven't been doing it regularly. And when you then make that with 5 players and they're not playing together with any kind of regularity, of course they played like strangers. And that doesn't mean that their skill sets can't work. That doesn't mean that, the group cannot coexist. It just means they're playing like strangers on the court because they played, how many games did they play last year? Like 11, the 3 of them? It was something
not
like
enough.
15?
That's
It was not
the
many. It was not many.
15. Yeah.
And 0 of them were with VJ Edgecombe. And then they came out and they played 2 games together in the first 20 whatever games of the season. Of course, they played like strangers. So I do look, they have a packed January schedule, not 17 and 30, but pretty darn near close. They're going to have to go through a lot. I hope that we can just I really just hope we can evaluate who they can be as a foursome, because for a year and a half or a year and a quarter, we weren't able to.
Joel Embiid, fantastic again, and he's out on the floor, as the guys just talked about. He is heating up with his minutes, and we like to see that. And games played. Joel Embiid, our Ace Hardware temperature check player. Visit acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, when we get back, Kyle called for it. We got to do it. VJ Edgecombe.
20 minutes of VJ talk, baby. Let's go.
Let's do it. On the other side, VJ Edgecombe continues his fantastic play. Also returned to Dallas, and with 3 guards, and they all played well. But we'll talk about VJ Edgecombe when we get back. 123-108 is the final score. Sixers 18-14 after a huge win. 1 more road game on this 5-game trip. VJ Edgecombe on the other side right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Time to tell you about our good people from Parks Casino, and specifically the Excite Center at Parks Casino. One of the many things that I love about my casino of choice is the great Excite Center. Parks Casino is Pennsylvania's #1 casino and is close to Philadelphia, located in Bensalem. All you have to do is take the street exit off of I-95 and the PA Turnpike, and boom, you're right there. The Excite Center is the state-of-the-art entertainment venue located inside Parks Casino. Named one of the best casinos to see the country's best comedians and music headliners. I've got my eye on, as I'm going to reach out to the people at Parks Casino, checking out the good man Tracy Morgan in March at Parks Casino at the Excite Center. All you have to do is check out the schedule at visitparkscasino.com to buy tickets for all the shows, see everything that's playing there at Parks Casino. Maybe I'll see you there for Tracy Morgan. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21 and over. Gambling problem, you don't want that. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, do you really want Jared McCain trying to post up? Probably not. It's not worth the risk, time, or money. You want to keep your stars focused on doing what they do best. The same goes to your business. You don't want your top people buried in operations, the tedious, time-consuming, redundant activities that wear the team down. Keep your impact players fresh so they can focus on putting points on the board. That's where Togo comes in, an integrated part of your team, taking that work off of your starters' plates so they can focus on what really moves a business forward. Every engagement starts with free process mapping and engineering, no cost, no commitment. They don't bill you a dime until the real work begins. With programs starting as low as $1,000 a month, you're not going to break the bank. Each Togo program includes dedicated staff, custom automations, and US-based process engineers who act as your quarterback, giving you complete control, total transparency, and instant efficiency. At Togo, turning your playbook into performance, you call the plays, we execute your way, and we advise along the journey. Visit harnesstogo.com, scale smarter, work faster, and stay focused on winning.
Hit that like button for us, everybody. Back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Final segment for us here on this great New Year's Day. Thursday night. We'll be back on Saturday for the Sixers and the Knicks. 7:30 start time, so it's 7 o'clock pregame for us. And then it continues to get busy because we'll have 4 games next week, 4 games the following week, and it's going to be a very busy one. By the way, 8:30 start against the Denver Nuggets at home on Monday. No Jokic, no Valanciunas, no Aaron Gordon, all these guys out.
8:30 local time in Philadelphia is absolutely criminal. I was going to say a much meaner word, but
overtime. So that's our schedule coming up. Everybody's going to be a busy one as far as games. So not a lot of 3 p.m. shows, but a lot of pre and post game shows. We hope that you can hang with us throughout the entire month of January and going through as they make a push for the postseason. All right, let's talk about, let's get to the super chat to lead into it, Kyle and Derek, because James Alexander says the team is starting to build great chemistry. And Derek, you just talked about it before the break of how the 15 games played amongst the big three, a lot of expectations going into the year after the Paul George signing, and it didn't work out. Plus, now they come into the season, only 4 games played before the Memphis game, and you have to incorporate VJ Edgecombe into that. We haven't seen it. Kyle, as James is talking about, VJ Edgecombe in these last 2, in particular, what he did against Memphis, and then the 23 tonight. And there's so many different things and so many different places to go with him. So I'll just throw it to you, man, because once again, VJ Edgecombe continues to show his just how important he is to this team. Outplayed Cooper Flagg in this one for the 2nd consecutive game. Got the sweep on the season. Tremendous work again.
He did everything. I mean, he hit the exclamation point 3 to end the game. Who would have thought? We spent so much time debating with people like, hey, I believe in the shot. I know he shot 30. It was 34.2.
30, yeah, 34.
34.2, I believe, was exactly. You can double check me on that one from 3 at Baylor. And we sat here, and I think all of us said, we believe in the shot, but it's going to take some time. Well, guess what? He shot 50% from 3 on 6 threes in yet another game. And to me, that was maybe like the 3rd or 4th thing on the list of important things that happened in that game. Tonight was as encouraged as I have been about VJ as an inside the arc player the entire season.
Look at that efficiency, Kyle. Look at that.
9 of 14 from the field. And I thought his decision-making inside the arc was borderline immaculate. I thought the layup attempts showed exactly what we talked about needing to happen, where when he needed to take one more step, he took one more step. When he needed to initiate some contact, he got a shoulder into somebody, created a bit of separation. I think you could see him play with some real strength, right? Had a couple that just playing tough down there, which you're going to have to do at his size. You're not finishing over everybody, although he did try to finish over Anthony Davis on the one. And man,
he's going to get one.
If he had been able to avoid the foul and at least have the attempt there, that would have been awesome. But the other thing too, a real blood in the water game for him where God bless Klay Thompson, incredible career, first ballot Hall of Famer, won those rings in Golden State. When VJ saw him, and VJ played against Klay a lot in the summer, they were at the same guard whisperer workouts, wherever, I forget where he's located at. Where his
in LA, and
is he an LA guy?
Vegas and LA, yeah.
Okay, so at the Olin Simplis's workouts, Klay and VJ spent a decent amount of time on one another. And VJ got a firsthand look at, yeah, this guy is not going to be able to run with me. So when Klay was in the game, Klay ends up on VJ on a fair amount of possessions, not to guard him like on ball necessarily, but certainly tracking him off ball. And there were a few times where VJ just said, I'm going by you, old man.
Okay,
like,
cool.
There is nothing you can do against me. And one thing I think he has picked up on, either he picked up on it from Tyrese Maxey, it's something that they coached, or he had a little bit of this coming into the league. The cut or the drive as the ball is arriving, where you're using your first step preemptively. I thought he was able to burn guys a few times with that tonight, where the ball is barely in his hands and he's out. He's turning the corner. And that's given him the opportunity to avoid the length at the basket, neutralize their shot blockers, and somebody like Cooper Flagg as a weak side rim protector. But also just the craft at the rim was really impressive tonight. Like a couple of reverse or up and under or scoop layups that he just had not made or didn't really show early in the season. That stuff was awesome. And then, oh, by the way, he had 4 steals. And oh, by the way, he had a block. Like, he just did absolutely everything.
He had the double block, as you talked about.
Yeah, the replay was, I didn't honestly even pick up on it in real time because I'm trying to take notes and write and watch the game, and that's pretty late in the game at that point. The double block was incredible. But what did we say about this kid the whole draft process? He's a winner. He makes winning plays. He's the type of guy you want on your basketball team. There were very few stretches tonight where he was not actively involved in the play on one end of the floor or another. Just another incredible game from him. Feels like he's just getting better and better as this season wears on.
No, he's absolutely getting better and better as the season wears on. And look, his finishing to start the year was it was an adventure inside the arc. It was an adventure at the rim. Like the pull-up shooting wasn't there. The approach at the rim wasn't there. The touch wasn't there. He wasn't getting the free throw line. Still not really getting the free throw line. But everything else, like, it just seems like his dribble's not slowing him down as much as it was earlier in the year. He's taking that extra dribble, getting all the way to the rim. He's adjusting to defenders. He's reacting to defenders rather than just trying to go straight to them. It is everything about the process has been improved. And he really is, like, Tyrese Maxey improved a ton, right? I see people in the chat mentioning it, like 29% at Kentucky. He was like 29% his first year in the NBA from three. He improved and he improved and he improved. But you saw, like, with Tyrese, not that he didn't get better as the season wore on, but like a lot of that improvement seemed like it happened in the offseason. He'd come to the next year and he'd be a better player. Clearly put in the work, applied it, fixed some of his holes. I haven't seen anybody in a Sixers uniform improve this much in season since probably Joel. Like, his ability to just witness what's going on the floor, be receptive to coaching, obviously watch a lot of film, and then change his approach is really, really encouraging. And it is, like, you know, it's tough to scout the draft in part because it's tough to know exactly what is good intel and what is not. So a lot of times you hear like, oh, he's a great kid, or, oh, he's a hard worker. And a lot of times some of that can come from people who are, you know, they're not incentivized to tell you the truth. It's when you start hearing it from everyone that you talk to and everyone who's been around him and everyone who has, you know, really dug into it that you start really believing it. And the background on VJ was as strong and as consistent as you'll see for a top prospect. And sometimes that's great, but when you combine that work ethic and that approach and that willingness to take criticism with that natural athleticism and talent, you're just seeing him blow through any reasonable expectations. Like Kyle mentioned, you had no idea whether or not he was going to shoot. He's one of the more reliable catch and shoot players on the team. And now you're seeing a lot of that translate into the off the dribble game. And there are a bunch of different ways where this season could get really exciting really quickly. I think part of the reason why the last week has been exciting, one of those hypotheticals is Joel Embiid not getting back to where he was, but getting somewhere between where he has been and where he previously was, like 90% of his previous upside. That's one way the season can get really, really exciting. And the reason why the last couple of games, week, 2 weeks, has been encouraging is because he has done that. But the other way is like, because a lot of times you'll get like a Dwayne Wade comparison with VJ, both games, rookie year impact, whatnot. If you go back to Dwayne Wade's, first like 25 games of his rookie year, yeah, he was good, but there were a lot of the inefficient, a lot of turnovers. His defense probably needed a little bit of work. He needed to learn a lot of stuff. It was really the last 2 months of the season going into the playoffs where Dwayne Wade was a completely different player. One of the ways that this season gets really, really interesting and completely blows past our expectations is if VJ takes a similar in-season leap, and you're starting to see signs of that too. So you're seeing a couple things happen sort of at the same time, with Joel Embiid looking a lot more like the dominant Joel Embiid, not the dominant Joel Embiid that we remember, but a version of a dominant Joel Embiid. And you're seeing VJ kind of like redefine himself, both happening at the same time, and it's tough not to get a little bit excited about that.
Bree had this play for us from the first quarter where when you talked about Kyle seeing Klay Thompson in front of him, and he just knew exactly what he wanted to do, there was no shot. He also had Nembhard on him early as well, where Maxey hit him, and it's like a quick catch downhill. I already know what I'm about to do. I'm going full speed. And then the way he finished, Bree, whenever you're ready to run that one, is the way he catches it and goes downhill, And then he's on the left side. So this is all left-handed work. And then from the right side, that where he gets by his defender, the help is coming from Cooper Flagg. And he just uses the shield of the basket to get to the other side. And he makes a really, really nice body control scoop layup on the one. On that one, he had another one late where he had a left-handed finish where it was really, really smooth against the defense as well. And he's just showing the things that we talk about, and he still does it, but for the most part, we've seen it more so where he has learned to keep that extra bounce for the basketball, to give him that extra dribble to get to the rim. And then he goes on and he finished the play. He converts the play. The fact that he has that body control, he has that confidence, he's seeing. And look, man, it's not just, Klay Thompson and Ryan Nembhard, he sees them, but he's doing this against other guys too. When he sees them out there, he just doesn't care who's in front of him now. He has the confidence that he can go ahead and have some success with whatever play he decides to dial up against whomever is in front of him trying to defend. So I just love the work that he's doing. And that one play, again, just finishing the way that he did was really, really good body control in that first. Love the fact that he continued to try to poster these dudes and bang on these big defenders from outside the dots in the paint. And just, hey, you're going to get one. I mean, we've seen a lot of really good ones. He's going to get one of those where he's looking like Michael Jordan in Space Jam, extending his arm out there, everybody, and, finishing one of those plays. But his body control has been really, really good. And the confidence in that play, in that drive, has really opened up some things and helping him out with his creativity there, and also his pull-up jumper, as Kyle, you talked about, 9 for 14, all the stuff inside the three-point line. It's because he feels like he can finish, and it's really, really good. Also, the one that we saw everybody buzzing about with Maxey, he had a victim tonight where
poor Caleb Martin.
Caleb Martin, man.
Rest in peace.
He was on skates on that one, man. And he had him tumbling backwards, and he fell backwards, and it was a great play. And again, great finish. After the play happened, the other guys are trying to come over for Dallas and help clean up that mess. It's a great finish overall. And
here we go.
God!
Look at that. Down goes Caleb. Down goes Caleb. Dang.
Yeah. Just
that's tough, man.
That is.
Yikes.
Good stuff. Thanks, Bree. Good stuff. That Tyrese Maxey
one quick VJ thing, because I assume we'll hit overtime with our roll call tonight.
Okay.
A sequence that I thought was really important for him, although it'll get lost in the sands of time among the highlights. They didn't have their best third quarter, and Dallas was making a run toward the end of that third quarter. Him and Joel combined on a pick and roll to get a bucket in the final minute of that, where it was very much a VJ got downhill, got toward the rim. It was one where I think in a previous game early in the season, VJ is trying to turn that over and dunk, and it's going somewhere else other than in the basket. And instead, he collects himself. He hits a good pass to Joel. Joel coming down the lane, comes down and scores. And it's the sort of stuff that he's going to need to do more of as he gets more of these opportunities with Joel and with Maxey on the bench, so that they can buy Tyrese more time. As he grows into more of that on-ball player rather than the slasher and kind of the two-guard sidekick next to Maxey, that's going to make this team even more dangerous on offense, and it'll hopefully allow number 0 to spend some time on the bench where he's not having to put the team on his shoulders and carry everybody.
Nah, just great stuff. Great stuff to see. And that pass was perfect, man. He drew the defense. He got so deep into the paint. He was basically at the baseline when he made that pass. And Joel followed him to the basket. And he missed one earlier. So that was the great thing, is that he went back to him again. And Joel missed a bunny, an easy one. And he went back to him again, and he got that one. He converted that one. Great stuff from VJ Edgecombe and Joel Embiid. That should bode well for the future. We're going to overtime, like Kyle said. Everybody on the television side, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Thursday, January 1st, 2026. Many, many more to come. Head on over to allphly.com for the remainder of the show. Hear your name called on roll call as well. We'll be back. If you are done for the night, we'll be back on Saturday, 7 o'clock pregame, Sixers Knicks at 7:30 on Saturday for the final game of the 5-game road trip. Maybe they can go 3-2. Maybe. We shall see. We shall see. All right, let's get ready to get to it. Any final thoughts, Derek, on this one before we get to roll call?
No, because I don't want to talk about any of the players who frustrated me, which is really only 2. But we want to keep this one a positive. You know, I do.
Bono was good. Bono was all right.
Well, I was just going to say, like, a way that I can kind of like sort of talk about one of the players who frustrated me is talk about the other option. I thought Bono has strung together a couple of strong games here, and that is good. You saw Nick play Embiid Bono minutes, only a couple, but a few more. He's been doing that more and more lately. And I think Bono has been like, he struggled through much of the first month of the season. He's out of the rotation for a little while. He's strung together a couple of pretty good games here. Hopefully he can build on that because he is just a much more dynamic option at that backup center.
Yep. All right, Kyle, any final words before we say goodnight to everybody?
I had one Joel thought that I just remembered and wanted to get to earlier. To me, a great bellwether play that shows where he's at right now. You guys remember the play where Caleb Martin bear hugged him in semi-transition, I think is in the first half? To me, a Joel that runs the floor and gets a cross match and establishes deep position is a Joel we have not seen in a while. The fact that he had the legs, the want to, and that Caleb Martin was just like, God damn it, just take the foul and add one to the score sheet. I think that is an important sign of where Joel is at physically. I think that was one of the things that jumped out at me as this is not something that was happening even as recently as a month ago. And I'm hoping we see more and more of deep post, deep touch, run the floor Joel in the weeks ahead.
Also on Joel, some of those mid-range, one dribble pull-ups that he made were pretty vintage Joel and tough shots, but stuff that he was really stuff that he was struggling with earlier in the season. I do think the confidence that he's had to take some attempts off the dribble and try to get to the rim just makes him more difficult to guard. I do think the confidence that he's playing with and the connectedness that he's playing with his teammates, what Kyle said earlier about he's being more decisive early, I think that's helping him a lot as well. But he just those looked like, oh, that's Joel from 2 years ago kind of shot.
He made it.
And if he ever makes a 3-pointer again, my goodness.
He made a tough one on the fadeaway over Davis and another wing on the left side of the floor in the second half that they needed. And it was all net, but he was already in a good rhythm. So that one fell for him tonight. It's going to be tested, though, Kyle, as you talked about with the body and all, because starting with tonight, everybody, Derek mentioned it earlier, 17 in the month of January, 3 back-to-backs, and they basically have 3 or 4 games a week for the remainder of this month. So it's going to be tested. So we'll see what Joel Embiid has as far as minutes, games played for Nick Nurse and his basketball team, and what he can also get from his backup bigs in the time that he's not out there on the floor. But that being said, great way to start 2026 with a really good win over the Dallas Mavericks, 123-108. We are the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Kyle, it's time for the world famous. It's the roll call. First one of 2026.
And the first one with all of us, including Bree, in a while. So I have to remind everyone to welcome Bree back to the show after she had a well-deserved break to end the year. Need you guys to hit the thumbs up button on the way out. It helps me sleep at night, makes all of us feel good. It says, good job, Bree. She's making it all happen on the back end. It helps us out a great deal, more than you guys know. So just take that quick second. If you're here, presumably you enjoy what we're talking about or how we're doing it. It would mean a lot to me and mean a lot to us. Thank you. It means a lot to us to have you guys here with us, hanging out, talking Sixers each and every night that we do this. Thank you to veteran of the Psychic Wars, our longtime friend. Here's a good one, name that I haven't seen. Beer Battered Gummy Shark in the chat tonight. Now that's a name right there. Thank you, Beer Battered Gummy Shark. Thank you to F Chillaxing, to S Cole,
what up?
To L Stel 3, to Coleman Potts, to Philly Reddick,
Steve Potts,
Jazz Graham,
Bang those
James
pots on the new
Alexander.
year.
Thank you to James Alexander for the super chat tonight. We appreciate you, James, as always. Thank you to Densley. Thank you to Philly Star 33.
He's a converted VJ fan, by the way.
Listen, a lot of people are. I know our friend Music Lover, I wouldn't say was a VJ hater, but was a VJ skeptic at points in the past and has been all over the chat just absolutely gushing about VJ. So there's a lot of them. You watch that kid play, you see it every day. You come to an understanding. You say, this kid's got the goods. Thank you to Philly Shad, to Hedfa, to Leonard Blocker, to Skates 31.
Skates.
Victimize in the building. Thank you to Key to King,
What
Jeffrey
up,
Stewart, Marcus Blackstock, Aaron.
What up, Aaron?
Mom's grandchildren. What's up
Hey,
to
Mom.
Mom? Hello to Jay of the Jungle, Eugene Ross, Val, Jess, my girl Nona.
Hello, ladies.
Thank you to PHLY guy, Larry K, Vino Wines, Music Lover. I'll say once again. X-Man, Theo, Constantine, Charlie Hendrickson, B-Night.
B-Night.
Thank you to everybody who's here. If I didn't get to you, it's not
X?
because I don't like you. It's probably because I couldn't see you, because it's a lot of scrolling and a lot of work to be done just to do a roll call. But we love each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. As Devon said, we'll be back for Sixers-Knicks pregame on Saturday night, 7 p.m. for a 7:30 tip-off. Until then, everybody, stay safe. Take care of one another. Goodbye.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.